In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Dear brothers and sisters, instead of lowering your dignity by asking people for help, it is far better to turn to the blessed words of the Qur'an. Whoever recites this noble verse 11 times with sincerity will never be left empty-handed. By the will of Allah, if this is made a daily practice after the Fajr prayer, not only will wealth and blessings reach that individual, but even their descendants for 11 generations will experience prosperity and honor. Remember, Islam is the religion of truth, and Allah the Exalted has placed the treasures of both worlds within the blessed hands of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, granting him the authority to distribute as he wishes. The Prophet, the master of the fountain of Kauthar, passed on to his ummah divine guidance regarding sustenance, provision and wealth. If Muslims truly followed his teachings, the ummah would become the wealthiest and most self-sufficient nation on earth. Sadly, today, much of the ummah wanders in need, begging even for their simplest requirements. Today, I want to remind you of a powerful Qur'anic practice, reciting this verse 11 times after Fajr every day. By Allah's permission, wealth, honor, and fame will pour down so abundantly that even if 11 generations lived upon it, the blessings would remain undiminished. Let us recall the days of the Prophet in Makkah when he first invited a small group of the weakest, most oppressed, and poorest of society to Islam. These men and women had almost nothing, no food, no clothing, no protection. Yet, with his own blessed hands, the Messenger of Allah accepted their pledge of allegiance. We remember with deep respect Sayyidah Khadija al-Kubra Yu'dibi Zojumbida, who gave her entire wealth for the cause of Islam. With her support, the Prophet was able to care for the poor and spread the divine message. As the years passed, the message of Islam moved from Makkah to Medina, and the Prophet sacrificed every worldly possession for the sake of the religion. At times, there was not even a single meal in his household. Yet, Allah's mercy soon descended, and within a short span, the Muslim Ummah flourished under the just rule of Umar ibn al-Khattab ibn Yevuvo, Uthman ibn Affan Yinuo, Ali ibn Abi Talib Yodidi Wuzorduo, and the noble companions. Within centuries, Muslims became leaders of trade, knowledge, and wealth. Even after 14 centuries, nations shaped by Islam, such as the Ottomans and Arab states, remain among the richest in the world. Think back to the Battle of Badr, when Muslims were in extreme poverty, lacking armor, supplies, and strength. This first great battle between truth and falsehood took place on the 17th of Ramadan in the second year of Hijrah, near a small village called Badr, about 120 kilometers from Medina. It is said the name came either from a man who dug a well there, or from an old inhabitant who lived in the area. According to historians, this battle occurred on the 17th of Ramadan, March 13th, 624 CE, with the Prophet leading the Muslims against the Quraysh under Abu Jahl. Before the battle, the Prophet pointed to the exact spots where the Quraysh leaders would fall, and as he foretold, each one died at that very place. That night, while the Quraysh army indulged in drinking and celebration, the Messenger of Allah stood in prayer, humbly asking Allah for victory. The Quraysh had seized the water sources, while the Muslims had none. Their ground was sandy and unstable, making it hard for camels to stand. Yet Allah sent down rain, firming the sand under Muslim feet and filling their containers with water, while the Quraysh camp turned into mud. This divine help is recorded in the Qur'an. On the battlefield, the Prophet aligned his army's ranks with a stick. He entrusted Musab ibn Umair and Hubab ibn al-Mundir with carrying the flags. Though small in number, the Muslims stood firm. Looking upon his few companions, the Prophet raised his hands and prayed, "O Allah, fulfill your promise. If this group is destroyed, there will be no one left to worship you on earth." Ibn Ishaq narrates that when the Quraysh appeared in full pride and arrogance, the Prophet prayed fervently for Allah's help. Allah revealed his promise in the Qur'an that his messengers and their followers would always be victorious. To strengthen hearts, the Prophet A declared that the Quraysh would soon flee the battlefield in defeat. Abdullah ibn Abbas, your resort narrates that on the day of Badr, the Prophet, announced, Jibril etc. has come, armed and ready for battle. Ali Juza also reported feeling powerful winds as he drew water from the well of Badr. Winds that were none other than the descent of Jibril with 1,000 angels, followed by Mikael with another 1,000 and Israfil with yet another 1,000. Although a single angel could have destroyed all disbelievers, Allah sent thousands to fight side by side with Muslims, teaching that His help comes in ways aligned with worldly means. Companions later narrated signs of angelic presence in battle wounds marked by burning like scars, strange voices urging them to strike, and the sight of clouds of dark figures descending like swarms of ants. The Quran describes that the two armies stood face to face it, truth versus falsehood, Islam versus disbelief, righteousness versus corruption. Despite being few and poorly armed, the Muslims prevailed. Leaders of Quraysh such as Abu Jahl, Umayyah ibn Khalaf and others were killed. The arrogance of Quraysh was shattered and over 70 of them were captured, including the Prophet's own uncle Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib. The victory of Badr proved to the world that spiritual strength surpasses material power. Muslim losses were only 14 martyrs, while the Quraysh lost 70 men, 36 at the hands of Ali Dibizoda alone. This battle marked the beginning of Islam's rising power. Abu Sufyan, who had not fought at Badr, assumed